Hey, you made it. Take a breath. Stay here a second. Between emails and errands, group chats and deadlines, there's that quiet laugh in the kitchen, the tiny hand tugging your sleeve, the drive where nobody talks, but the sunset fills the car, a text that just says, you okay? That one song you never skip. These are the moments we're living for. Blink and they're gone, or breathe and they grow right here, right now. Stay with it. We're the in-between kids, raised on mixtapes and dial-up, streaming our memories while we scroll past the day in our hands. But there's coffee going cold because the story's too good to cut short. There's the way your friend says your name like they've known every version of you. These are the moments we're living for. Blink and they're gone, or breathe and they grow right here, right now. Stay with it. This is exennial time, right in the middle, right on the edge. Let's catch the seconds that actually matter, one small moment at a time.
Well, welcome. This is the first podcast that I'm going to be starting with Moments with Steven. And this is going to be more of a candid and trip down memory lane of experiences throughout my life. And one thing that I really want to focus on is that this is really meant for my son to really understand who I was, and so that way he doesn't have the questions that I had when I was growing up. And I'm probably going to be messing up quite a bit since this is the first episode. So just bear with me. When I was growing up, I wasn't a poor kid and I wasn't a rich kid. I was kind of in that middle class area with everything. And I moved around quite a bit. I lived in Palm Springs, lived in Palm Desert, Cathedral City, lived in Redlands, Valencia, and all this is in California. Um, and I'm pretty proud of the places that I grew up in. I met a lot of people, had a lot of friends, had a lot of good influences in my life, a lot of bad influences in my life, but who doesn't? And one of the things that really carried with me throughout my life is try to be a good person no matter what. I wasn't always the best, and there were some times where I was probably straight up maybe a dick. But for the most part of my life, I think I did pretty well. I'm 41 right now, recording this. And looking back, it has been a wild ride. There's a lot of good that I've done, a lot of bad that I've done, but who doesn't have that in their life? So, just to kind of give you an overview, grew up in California. Uh, After I got out of high school, uh, I was a character at some theme parks, Universal Studios, and Six Flags. But also during that time frame, I was working as show control for Universal Studios, which gave me the opportunity to follow into that character output. Yeah, I got to do some really cool things. I believe I still hold the title for youngest Batman in the Batman and Robin stunt show at Six Flags, California. But to get there were quite a bit of challenges. Yeah. After I did all that, I decided to follow in my younger brother's footsteps and also a little bit of family tradition in going into the United States Navy. And originally, I dipped in to the Marine Corps, but I dipped out because I ended up getting a really cool position as Batman, so I couldn't really turn that down at that time. Being the young, stupid person that I was. But experience gives you a good outlook later on in life. And so I joined the Navy in December of 2006. And originally dipped in for IT, but got booted out of that because I couldn't get the security clearance. So I ended up becoming a mineman. And if for those of you who don't know what that is, we're on a tiny ship or a semi-medium ship, either looking for mines out in the water or dropping mines out in the water to protect our borders, or even building them out if we're on shore duty. But I did that for about 2 years, and then I cross-rated over to corpsman, which ended up giving me a really cool insight in the military. Um, from there I continued on for 6 more years and did 8 years total in the Navy. And then I decided to get out. Originally, the reason why I was trying to get out was my ex-wife, wife then, was trying to make sure that she had more of a stable position. And I felt guilty a lot of the times moving from place to place. Didn't know where our next duty station was, so I wanted to get out of that point in Camp Pendleton and really focus on her career. So I got out of the military, and then I worked for Disney, Disneyland. I wanted to have kind of a job where I didn't have to think a whole lot, where I had to just, enjoy the moments and have fun. So I was a ride operator for Star Tours and learned Buzz Lightyear as a secondary attraction, and then became a lead for those two attractions. And it was a fun time. A lot of great stories on that, or the 60th anniversary over there. And then in 2016, we decided to move out here to Orlando, Florida. Try to give me a better position and more availability for work with Walt Disney World. So I started out at Walt Disney World for it was ticket operations, or actually front gate for Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon and then I was able to get into attractions over at Animal Kingdom, and I learned Cali River Rapids. That was fun for a while. And then Pandora, the world of Avatar, was about to open up, so I was able to jump in and become an opening team for that attraction. And that was a wild ride. So, a lot of great memories and a lot of interesting stories that will be coming on that for future episodes. And then finally, we were able to have a child during that time frame, and our son Bruce was born. So I needed to have a little bit more stability of hours. So I moved into the guest service call center over at Disney for a while. And then the pandemic happened. And interesting stories from that. Honestly, I have a lot of mixed feelings with the pandemic because I'm kind of happy and kind of guilty that it happened because I was able to spend a lot of time with my son that I probably would have never had. But then again, when I went back to work for Disney, it just wasn't the same. So I decided to leave Disney after securing more of a permanent position at another place that I was working at that time called Beep. And with that, I started to learn a whole new skill set, a whole new world of what the future is going to be like with self-driving vehicles. And, just the innovation of what they're doing and how they're doing it and still doing compared to all the other companies is still fascinating and interesting to me. And I still support them even though I have left them um, after 5 years. I just needed to kind of do something that was more geared towards taking care of my son and focusing on my health and my mental health after I ended up getting a divorce. So that is my life in a nutshell. But I'm going to circle back around to a lot of these topics uh, throughout the podcast life uh, and really focus on the lessons learned through each of the areas. Um, my son, he's a major reason why I need to be who I am right now. And the reason why I am who I am right now is because I am. Being a veteran and being a veteran of a foreign war, being out in Afghanistan, uh, even though I didn't see a whole lot of action, there's still some scars that I carry with me, and I try not to let it affect me as much. And I still go through therapy. I occasionally go through therapy whenever acts up, but um, I think this podcast is really going to help me kind of shift through a lot of that, and I hope that some of my veteran friends and Disney cast or Universal buddies or Six Flags buddies eventually join me on this cast and help me, and even eventually help you out there, with any problems that you're going through. Yeah, I talk about my divorce and when I was young, uh, I didn't want to really settle down for quite some time until I really met the one. Yeah, I was acting a fool quite a bit. Um, and a lot of interesting times, a lot of partying, and a lot of things that, as a Zennial, because I don't really classify myself as a millennial and I don't classify myself as a Gen X, but that fine medium of Zennial is where I feel most comfortable placing myself as. Um, really has, given me a really interesting view on what we grew up with, what we have, and where we're going. And I don't think that there's a lot of people out there with my optimism anymore. Yeah, I think a lot of people are more self focused and really want to just focus on the things in front of them sometimes. And they forget that there is a world around them. So I've also been working with Uber around the Disney Universal Central Florida area. And with that, I've started doing a new thing in December, which is handing out small little duckies, little miniature ducks to anybody that's um, currently working either security gates or Disney cast member that is directing traffic or whatever. Um, and it helps um, with their day. And seeing their faces and seeing um, what it means to them after I give it to them. Some of them kindly refuse, which is okay, but majority of them accept it and are very thankful. And it reminds me that we are still human, we are still people, and little tokens like that really do brighten up somebody's day. And I really hope that at some point, one person listening to this podcast kind of just gets an idea just to do something selfless similar to that and just make somebody's day. You know, I've started trying to get into the habit of whenever I go to a fast food place or a grocery store, and I know it's not common practice in a lot of places, but if they have a name tag, I try to use that name as much as possible now because uh, I know it's hard, being in the customer service field for quite a while myself. Um, and just knowing that you're there as a number, and then nobody really knowing who you are until you hear your name. That really hits the spot sometimes. So one of the things before this podcast ends, then I'm going to try to keep these around 20-25 minutes at the most, is self-reflection on anything that I talk about. If I die tomorrow, I know I've lived a good life. I made a lot of mistakes, but who hasn't? But I've always tried to accept the mistakes, take accountability for the mistakes, and move on. And sometimes it's really hard to move on. And the last 6 months have really been hard for me to move on from some realities that I know will never go back to normal. But what is normal? And this is a new way for me to start being myself and being somebody that my son can really look up to. I can take the easy road out and disappear from his life and, really focus on myself and do what I need to, but growing up, knowing that I had a physical dad there, but not an emotional dad there, it still hurts and it still hits me pretty hard. And I don't know if you're out there that you've experienced that, or if you had a dad that just completely left. Uh, uh, but I'm still working through my issues with my dad. Even though he's gone, there's still a lot of unanswered questions that I will never get to answer. And that's okay, because life moves on and I have to move on. So this is a start. This is my start on a new chapter of my life. And I hope you enjoyed the journey. And if you like this content, I'm just going to be what's the word? Like a general YouTuber tagline right now. If you like this content, please subscribe, press like, and follow my journey through this. And I got some pretty interesting stories. Hopefully, you will be interested in listening to them, and you'll be interested in following them. And if you have any comments or questions, please email me, Stephen at sgmtraveltech.com, or post some comments on this video or podcast wherever you see it. I'm going to try to put it on as many platforms as possible. And thank you. Thanks for staying and listening to my story. All right. Have a great day.